Agricultural activity. Agricultural activity is the management of biological transformation, such as biological growth of a biological asset, for the purpose of sales of that asset. It is also the management of biological transformation, reproduction, of a biological asset, for the purpose of creating additional biological asset. And it can be the management of biological transformation of a biological asset for the purpose of harvesting agricultural produce from the asset. Example of agricultural activity: raising livestock, annual or perennial cropping, cultivating orchards and plantations, floriculture, and aquaculture, including fish farming. Now, you may ask, what is a biological asset? I'm glad that you asked. Biological assets are living plant and animals. It would include all kinds of animals like sheep, cows, fishes, pigs, chicken, ducks, and goats. It also includes trees and plants and other living things. Examples of biological assets. First, sheep. Its agricultural produces wool, and its product after harvest is yarn. Next biological asset, trees and plantation forest. Its agricultural produce is felled trees, and its product after harvest is lumber. Next biological asset, sugarcane plant. Its agricultural produce is harvested cane, and its product after harvest is sugar. Next biological asset, dairy cattle. Its agricultural produce is milk, and its product after harvest is cheese. Next biological asset, pigs. Its agricultural produce is carcass, and its product after harvest is sausages. Next biological asset, tobacco plant. Its agricultural produce is picked leaves, and its product after harvest is cured tobacco. After biological asset, there is an agricultural produce. What is an agricultural produce? Agricultural produce are the harvested produce from biological assets, such as meat, milk, eggs, fruits, and so on and so forth. But what is a harvest? Harvest is the detachment of produce from a biological asset, or the cessation of a biological asset's life. On a biological transformation, we have growth, degeneration, reproduction/procreation, and production. This biological transformation creates qualitative and quantitative changes in a biological asset. How to recognize biological asset? We have 3 conditions. These conditions must be present before you can recognize biological asset. Entity controls the asset as a result of past event. For example, you purchased a cow. Now, you have the control over the cow. Then the cow gave birth to a calf, which means you also has the control over the calf. There is a probable future inflow of economic benefit, which means you can sell the cow, consume the cow, or it can be an agricultural produce. The fair value or cost of the asset can be measured reliably. If value cannot be recognized, no recognition is to be made. Now let's talk about how to measure biological asset. Biological asset shall be measured on initial recognition and at the end of each period at fair value less cost of disposal. Agricultural produce shall be measured at fair value less cost of disposal at the point of harvest. But how do we determine the cost of disposal of a biological asset? Cost of disposal in the incremental cost is directly attributable to the disposal of an asset. Disposal is necessary for a sale to occur, but that would not otherwise rise, such as commission to broker and dealer, levy by regulatory agency and community exchange, and transfer tax and duty. Cost of disposal excludes transport cost, finance cost, and income tax. When it comes to fair value of a biological asset, The biological asset shall be measured at cost less accumulated depreciation and any accumulated impairment loss. How about the fair value of agricultural produce? An entity shall measure agricultural produce at the point of harvest at fair value less cost of disposal. The fair value of an agricultural produce at the point of harvest can be measured reliably. Fair value measurement of agricultural produce stops at the point of harvest, because, after that date, PAS2 or inventories shall apply. Next up, what is an agricultural land? Is it a part of PAS 41, or is it under PAS 16? Agricultural land is not deemed a biological asset. The principle espoused in PAS 41 for biological assets and agricultural produce do not apply to agricultural land. The requirements of PAS 16, which are applicable to property, plant, and equipment, apply equally to agricultural land for purpose of measurement. How about the biological assets attached to land? Biological assets are often physically attached to land, for example, trees in a plantation forest. They are considered as a combined asset. It can be measured by deducting the fair value of land from the fair value of the combined asset. For example, a plantation forest is attached on a parcel of land. This plantation is considered by an entity as a biological asset, but they cannot measure the fair value of the forest because the biological asset and the parcel of land is a combined asset of the entity. According to PAS 41, the measurement of the biological asset attached to a parcel of land shall be measured by deducting the fair value of the combined asset to the fair value of the parcel of land. What if the biological asset is related to government grant? An unconditional government grant related to a biological asset that has been measured at fair value less cost of disposal shall be recognized income when the grant becomes receivable. If the grant is related to biological asset measured at fair value less cost of disposal is conditional, the grant shall be recognized as income only when the conditions attaching to the grant are met. If the grant related to biological asset measured at cost less any accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment loss, PAS 20 shall apply. If a biological asset attached to land is not a part of PAS 41, how about bearer plants? Bearer plants should be accounted for in the same way as property, plant, and equipment, because the operation of bearer plants is similar to that of manufacturing. What is a bearer plant? Is used in the production or supply agricultural produce. It is expected to bear produce for more than one period. Has a remote likelihood of being sold as agricultural produce, except for incidental cap sales. Example of bearer plant. In an oil palm plantation, a coconut tree is the bearer plant and the fruit is the agricultural produce. In a vineyard, the grapevines are the bearer plants and the grapes are the agricultural produce. How about the bearer animals? How do we recognize it? Bearer animals, like bearer plants, may be held solely for the produce that they bear. However, bearer animals have explicitly excluded from IASP amendment and will continue to be accounted for IAS 41/PAS 41. In other words, bearer animals continue to be reported as biological assets. Does the animals kept in zoos and game parks considered as agricultural activity? Managing recreational activities, like game parks and zoos, is not an agricultural activity. The natural breeding that takes place is not a managed activity and is incidental only to the main activity of providing a recreational activity. Animals related to recreational activities shall be accounted for in accordance with PAS 16, property, plant, and equipment. Now we will have an illustration. At the beginning of current year, an entity purchased 100 cows which are 3 years old for $15,000 each for the purpose of producing milk for the local community. On July 1, the cows gave birth to 20 calves. The active market provided the fair value less cost of disposal of the biological assets as follows. Newborn calf on July 1, $4,000. Newborn calf on December 31, $5,000. 1/2-year-old calf on December 31, $7,000. 3 years old cow on December 31, $18,000. 4 years old cow on December 31, $24,000. To record acquisition of 100 cows at $15,000 each, or a total of $1,500,000. Debit, biological assets, $1,500,000, and credit, cash, $1,500,000. To record the birth of 20 calves with a fair value of $4,000 each, or a total of $80,000. Debit, biological assets, $80,000, and credit, gain from biological asset, $80,000. To record the birth of 20 calves with a fair value of $4,000 each, or a total of $80,000. To record the change in fair value of the cows and calves on December 31. Debit, biological assets, $960,000, and credit, gain from biological asset, $960,000. To get that, we add cows which are now 4 years old, 100 multiplied by 24,000, 2,400,000 in calves which are now 1/2 year old, 20 multiplied by 7,000, 140,000. We will have a total fair value on December 31, $2,540,000. Next, we minus the carrying amount of biological assets, which are $1,500,000 plus $80,000, $1,580,000. Then we will have a change in fair value of $960,000. Pass 41. Agriculture. This channel may also interest you in some of the other accounting topics covered. Check that out.